Good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, listen, when we're studying Bitcoin, and studying the cryptocurrencies. We can't forget to look at the whole world situation that's going on, And Australia is undergoing a severe downturn in the real estate market. And Canada's starting to too now. And Canada is got a tremendous amount of Canada's not a real big country population-wise. It's something similar to Venezuela population-wise, around 30, I think 36 million in Canada and 30 million in Venezuela. And the thing is Canada's real estate market's turning over fast, really fast. Let's take a look. Let's start the charts right here. And, Canada's housing market, according to this writer here in business, he says Canada's housing market is breaking some alarming records right now, right? But he says, at least we aren't Australia. Famous last words. Famous last words. The Canadian real estate market is falling out of bed really fast. It says Canadian residential real estate market has slowed considerably over the past year. In fact, the industry chalks up a tough new mortgage stress test and rising interest rates. This is having an impact on the broader economy. Well, I'll tell you why. And why Canada's real estate market is different than Australia's, and why this is so bad. First off, there's huge Canadian banks. They are huge, and they're connected with the American banks, right? Now, when the boom was on in Canada, it wasn't an ordinary real estate boom. It was like a mega real estate boom. House prices in Canada went nuts. A house around Ontario in the Toronto region went like $2 million, and just an average home. And these prices were so inflated, unbelievably inflated, that what people did is when they got their house, well, normal 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a nice place around Toronto area, was priced up to like $2 million. What they did is the bank come along, these big Canadian banks, and they said, okay, we're going to lend you guys based on the price of your house, we're going to lend you guys a line of credit, And it was the line of credit. On a $2 million home, they'd give them a huge line of credit. And these people went out, based on the value of their home, and bought things like RVs and went on expensive vacations and put in a swimming pool. And they had money like they never had before, And now they still got this outstanding debt against these Canadian banks. Well, if these house prices fall substantially, what's going to happen is there's going to be quite literally thousands of people who can't pay back these banks. Well, once these banks create the money and then they put it on their book, then the banks, they record record profits for that particular year because they created that money from nothing, but they expect it to all be paid back plus interest from the person who borrowed it with this line of credit. Now, if these people can't pay back because their house's price dropped substantially, right, then the bank is on the hook for that money because it's called a non-performing loan. This is exactly the same thing we see happening in Italy. Could happen to Canada. But these banks here in Canada are tied in directly to the American banking system, and if they get in trouble, the only way a bank can produce the money it needs, if it needs a bailout, is to look to the government to bail them out, because they can't. Once they create that money, their money creation tool of what's called fractional reserve lending only works in one direction. That direction is to create money, and if that money's not paid back, then it comes off of the bank's books, just in the opposite direction. If Canadian banks go down, because they're so interconnected with the American banks are going to be getting in trouble too. And so we can see this situation escalating out of control. That's one of the things I'm watching very carefully, is the fall in the Canadian real estate market. Now, we got other things to talk about too, let's take a look at Bitcoin this morning. And it is descending downwards very slowly, but it has been descending upwards over the last little while. If we go back, take a look at the 12, well, let's take a look at the one-day chart, and what we can see is it's basically stabilized in around this level, in the $3,000 range. And basically what I see happening is, I see this cryptocurrency is in a bear market, and we're near the bottom of the bear market, and it's trying to gain strength, and volumes have been increasing a little bit as of late. But the thing about it is never forget, we are in a bear market still. We haven't pulled out of the bear market yet, even though we've seen increases in the price of some of these altcoins and stuff. The bears are still at it. They're still working at it. They're still shorting the market. They're still doing all kinds of stuff to try to they're dumping their coins. Whales are coming in and still dumping their coins and stuff. So we got to be very careful until we really start to gain some strength in this market. Now, the next thing I want to point out is we'll take a look at cryptocurrency market capitalizations. $133.6 billion this morning, with a Bitcoin dominance of 51.7%. And we do see a little bit of a downslope in a lot of these coins, but take a look at Stellar. Stellar today is doing phenomenally well, up 13.22%, which is a huge increase in price for the day, and it's reached a market capital over $2 billion, and it's pushing at Binance Coin. If it keeps on going, it could easily pass Binance Coin and move up one notch into the 7th position, and Binance Coin could go into the 8th position. So it's vying for position right now. Now, what we want to look at right now is the Marshall Islands, okay? The Marshall Islands is going to launch their own sovereign cryptocurrency. It'll be the first government-issued fiat cryptocurrency that really has an effect. And even though the Marshall Islands is tiny, you can take this one seriously, where you couldn't take what Venezuela did with their petro seriously. You can take this one seriously, and they're getting ready to launch. And this will be the first real fiat crypto. I'm going to call it the fiat crypto, because it's sovereign. It's sovereign. They're saying it. They're going to call it the sovereign, and sovereignty is based into fiat decree, It's like we decree that this money has value because it is sovereign. It's sovereign. It's by decree. Sovereignty is where the king makes a decree. This money is worth money. Goes back to sovereignty. And so they're getting ready to release this thing. I can't get the details. I was on the internet trying to get the details of what each sovereign will be worth, if there is a hard limit or if there's no hard limit, what's going on with this. I haven't been able to get the details yet. I'm going to keep you guys up to date, but I'll tell you about the Marshall Islands. Marshall Islands is a very small group of islands. It's a United States associated state, and it's associated with the United States. It's an associated state. I'm going to tell you what. Not many people live on the Marshall Islands, but the people that live on the Marshall Islands, a lot of them are very rich. Rich. The Marshall Islands is tightly controlled. If you try to move to the Marshall Islands and you want to move there to live there, you got to have a lot of money. And they're going to check and make sure you got a lot of money before you're allowed to move there. You know what I mean? It's almost like a country club estate, It's almost like you're moving into a country club where you got to be one of the mucky mucks in order to go there, But they're going to release their own cryptocurrency called the Sovereign. Now, here's a guy right here in this article, and he's done an article about will you be able to use Bitcoin in a post-apocalyptic world. How to use Bitcoin when the apocalypse hits. And he's got a vision of what the world is going to be like. And I think that there is a remote chance that the world could turn into this, but I'm not giving it a very high probability. I don't think it's going to be near that devastating as he's picturing it in his mind, you know. And he talks about how when the world collapses and society splinters into factions fighting for the scraps, you will want to keep your friends close and your crypto even closer. Whatever the cause of the fallout, economic disaster is certain. Well, I agree with him there. Economic disaster is certain, but I don't think it's going to turn the world into a Mad Max, you know. He pictures this post-apocalyptic world like we see in some of these movies, you know, like Mad Max, you know, and zombies running around and everything, you know. He's got the pictures of the zombies here. He says here, Bitcoin can be sent and received without using the internet, such as over ham radio. The process is convoluted, though, and besides, when social breakdown occurs, we are likely to revert to a feudalistic society in which locals trump the global. There will be no need to use Bitcoin to buy stickers and other trinkets online because there will be no mailman or UPS driver to deliver it to your door, and besides, your letterbox will have been boarded up and the door barred to keep the zombies at bay. I really don't think that there's going to be any zombies or anything like that. I think he's gonna. Here's another picture he's got here of the infrastructure all burned and everything, and the whole system turned upside down in a post-apocalyptic world. I don't think we're going to see this, to be honest. But the thing is I think what we will see is something akin to the Great Depression. You know, I think we're going to see that. And what we're going to see is we're going to see some real trouble come to the world when the hyperinflation stage hits. But that's well advanced into this collapse. You're going to see it coming ahead of time. It's not going to sneak up on you, the hyperinflation. And it's going to cause some real problems in the world. It's going to be hard for the authorities in the world to keep up with the hyperinflation. They're going to have to do resets. They're going to have to restructure their monetary system. And how they're probably going to restructure it is they're going to follow the lead of this little tiny country that started. The Marshall Islands is starting it, you know, and they're going to launch the sovereign. You're going to see them all follow suit on this. You know, all the countries on Earth to fight the hyperinflation, they're going to re-release their currencies as a cryptocurrency. But it's all going to end up going up against the king, Bitcoin, which is basically going to very slowly rob the value of these sovereign cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin's going to be the winner ultimately in the end because it's decentralized and it imitates gold. Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening to this report, and we'll catch you guys in the very next report coming up very soon. Bye-bye, guys.